At the end of the day, nobody knows what I went through. Nobody knows what I'm going through. So nobody, you, him, whoever the fuck, you don't get to sit here and talk about shit.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Rumble. This is Royce, Mr. Royce of Royce Media, coming at you guys with another live stream. Check it out. Happy Monday. Yeah, yeah, back to the grind. Back to making them nickels. Yeah, how y'all doing this morning? Is everybody doing good? I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Had some trouble with Rumble and Facebook Live, but we are here. It's time to get it. What y'all know good? Y'all know good. Do me a favor as you come into the stream, like the stream, and shout yourself out in the comment section. Let me know where you where you're watching from. I like to know where everybody is watching from. Give me an idea of what my audience is doing, where y'all coming from. Yeah, let me know how y'all feel. That's important to me. I want to know if everybody's feeling good. I want to know if everybody's feeling like me. I'm feeling good. I'm not pretty, but I feel pretty. Yeah. Yeah, I had a good weekend, man. I had a pretty good weekend. You know, got some errands done, hung out with the wife, got a chance to smoke some cigars, do what I like to do. You know, it's retirement life is awesome. Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot that's been going on in the news. Our city girls have been citying, doing what they do, causing all kinds of problems and mayhem in these positions of power that they're in. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about Tiffany Henyard. I know I've been going in on Fannie Willis, and I'll go in on Fannie Willis today. You better believe. But I want to start off talking about Tiffany Henyard out there in the fine city of Dalton. As you all know, I have a bit of a history with the city of Dalton. I used to do some aid and assist to the police department out there when I was working in law enforcement in Illinois. And so I know a little bit about the city of Dalton. Arrested some of the criminals out there committing crimes and whatnot. Yeah, sent quite a few of the wayward citizens to jail. Send them to jail because I don't like criminals. I don't like criminals one bit. So I did my part to make the city of Dalton somewhat safer when I was working out there. Shout out to South Gangs, and I met some of the police officers out there. Most of them are fine people out there doing their jobs, trying to make the city of Dalton safer. And that's one thing. The problem with the city of Dalton, at least right now, is one Tiffany Henyard. Yeah, we know about our girl, old Tiffany from the block. Tiffany is trying to run Dalton like a crime boss. She's out there like she's a mob boss or something. And the people out there are getting sick and tired of it. You know, I feel bad for some of the people, but not really, because at the end of the day, they voted her in. The people voted her in. They wanted some black girl magic out there, Dalton, and they got it. They got it. They got more black girl magic than they can handle. Hey, it is what it is. I feel bad for the people that didn't vote for Tiffany Henyard because they got to put up with this nonsense. She been out there wilding, man. Hey, there's a guy on YouTube called Actual Justice Warrior, and he did some commentary on the Tiffany Henyard shenanigans. And we're going to take a look at his video. Shout out to Actual Justice Warrior. If you all are not subscribed to his content, go check him out. If you like him, subscribe. Give him a shout out. Give me a shout out on his channel. Let him know I directed traffic to his channel. And we're going to take a look and see what he has to say about one Tiffany Henyard. Let's take a look at this video and see what we got. This old Tiff, she been out there wilding. All right, let's do this.
And if you think you're in shock now, just hold on. I want to commend.
Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about this situation going on in Dalton, Illinois. Of course, we are talking about the super mayor again, one of the greatest political figures in American history, in my opinion, just due in large part to how absurd she is. Because recently in Dalton, they had a special board meeting where everybody except for Tiffany A. Henyard showed up, and they listed off a bunch of different crimes that she committed, and we got to review this because it's absolute madness in every possible way. It involves forgery and a bunch of other things that we have yet to see so far that I can't wait to come out in the public. Also,
Hey, listen. We're talking about the corruption of Tiffany Henyard, but I'll tell y'all something. It's not unusual, not in Chicago politics. Uh, I worked out in Chicago and in the Chicagoland area, and I'll tell you, the Democrats in Chicago run Chicago like a mafia. It's bad. It's bad. And if they find out you are not on their team or you're not on their particular team, you're not on their squad, they make you pay a price. I made the mistake of letting it be known that I was more or less an independent and I voted the issues rather than the party and the person. And the people that knew had a problem with it. And I had a lot of tough times, dealing with with politically connected and dealing with politicians trying to get things done. It's a hot mess. Let's continue. Fair use, fair use. Let's go.
residents appear to have had enough, and essentially they want to banish Tiffany A. Henyard to somewhere in the far, far away, and I'm very excited about this. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
Dozens of residents showed up tonight for the special board meeting, but Mayor Tiffany Henyard and two of her close allies on the Board of Trustees did not. When community members heard that they would vote on a resolution for an investigation into Henyard, this is how they reacted.
Okay, so I've covered Tiffany A. Henyard a lot on this channel, and a lot in the last week or so because so much new information has been developing. So I'm going...
As I said before, let's stop right here. As I said before, Tiffany Henyard is not an anomaly out there in Chicago politics and in Chicagoland politics. Before her and over in the city of Dalton, you had Mayor Kellogg. Mayor Kellogg was a hot mess as well. He stole millions of dollars and he hooked up all his family members with not having to pay taxes on the properties they owned out there. And he just did a lot of corruption, and the state of the police department was so bad out there that my department had talked about taking over operations in the city of Dalton because they couldn't solve crimes, they couldn't solve murders, and the streets weren't being policed properly, and you had corrupt police officers out there. So it was really bad. And there was talk for a long time about the department I worked for taking over operations in the city of Dalton from in the city of Harvey because of the situation being out of control. Let's continue.
To link in the description of this video a playlist where you can review this entire scandal for yourself, because I just don't have the time to review each and every item. There's misuse of public funds, spending money on lavish vacations to Vegas, to Portland, to Austin, to New York City, first-class flights, 5-star hotels. You guys get the gist, while at the same time, the village of Dalton is completely broke. On top of that, there are a bunch of other scandals related to the fact that she is the head of the Thornton Township Board of Supervisors that are all similar and often get mixed up between the two. But again, we just don't have the time to go into all of them. Whenever one is mentioned, I will throw a clip up there so that you could see it. But what I want to focus on is the new information, because
all right, let's stop right there. Tiffany Dalton is not only the mayor of the city of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard, she is also on the Thornton Township Board. And in total, she's pulling in about $300,000. Now, truth be told, I am not against her getting the bag. If she can legally do that, she can legally hold both positions, and she can effectively do those jobs, more power to her. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with her being a female in power. My thing, I'm an egalitarian, and I've said this before. My thing with it, if women want to go out and get these power positions, cool. Understand that with all the praise you get, if you do a good job, if you do a bad job, if you mess up, if you do something corrupt, you're going to get all the criticism and all the negative consequences that come with it, as far as I'm concerned. So that's not the issue. My issue with Tiffany was that she was running rampant with her power and intimidating and bullying residents and wasting the town's money. She's wasting the taxpayers' money. That's what I have an issue with. Let's continue.
After it was announced recently that the FBI was looking into Tiffany A. Henyard, they had interviewed 6 witnesses, including some former politicians, including business owners that she retaliated against. Tiffany Henyard decided 2 hours post that segment to do a retaliatory strike against businesses that have spoken out against her. Again, clip right here so you can remember that story.
They just rushed in here, put police at the front of the door like they was doing a raid on the drug house or something.
A team of Dalton police officers raided and shut down Pablo's Bar and Cafe and Rinky's Bar and Cafe, both located on Sibley, about a block apart.
Everything going peacefully, nothing going on. It's like 10 police cars came in and they start pushing customers from here. And he said, if you don't leave, we're going to lock you up.
Employees and owners say it's part of an ongoing campaign of harassment by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard that is
Jorge has all.
All right, let me get past that real quick so that we can continue doing what we're doing. Yeah, man.
And money.
Right.
Their business licenses have been stripped by Dalton, but they've continued to operate with a state license.
I have like over 23 employees. They work from the local township. Now, end of the day, all the employees, they're going to lose their job.
Now, Henyard is so corrupt that this bold action was taken with full knowledge that they were calling a special board meeting that she did not attend in order to review all of the crimes. And this board meeting teases so many other additional crimes that we just gotta talk about it, because it's amazing what this woman is accused of doing.
Motion passed for resolution number 24-002, calling for investigation of Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Item number 8, discussion and approval of a resolution 24-002, calling for an investigation of Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
All right, let's stop right here for a minute. This investigation, this is not referring to the investigation that the feds intend on doing with Tiffany. This is from the Illinois Board of Ethics, if I'm not mistaken, and could this quite frankly, quite possibly could be a different set of charges. Now, just because they launched an investigation, it doesn't mean that the investigation will turn up anything unethical or that she will be charged. That being said, she's looking at two different agencies investigating her and possibly both bringing their own set of charges against her. I think the thing to worry about is possibly double jeopardy, but I think it's unlikely because at some point those two agencies will get together and discuss what charges they intend on pursuing in order to maximize prosecutorial effect against her and to make sure that if she gets past one set of charges, she doesn't get past the other set of charges. And in full disclosure, I've actually worked on task force with the FBI in the past, and I'll tell you, when they start looking into a case, it's usually years before they start announcing charges, and usually years before they make it public that they intend on pursuing charges. So it's likely they've been looking at Tiffany quite some time before the news leaked out that they are looking into charges against her. So, and usually once they make that announcement, they have a case that is 97% airtight and that you're likely not going to beat whatever charges they bring against you. They have a 97% conviction rate, and most people wind up pleading out because the evidence that they're going to come with, it's it's very detailed, very intense, very very thorough. Let's continue.
So as you can see right there, every single vote where they call for an investigation into Tiffany A. Henyard was met with a standing ovation from the citizens of Dalton. Now, a lot of people will say, well, these people voted for Tiffany A. Henyard. She won her initial election with 85% of the vote. And yes, that is in fact true. But remember, they actually did a recall election and they voted her out in that recall election. However, that recall election was declared unconstitutional. So the people of Dalton have flipped on Henyard a very long time ago, let's be clear about that, and you're seeing that represented in these standing ovations. But what's more interesting to me than in the individual standing ovation are the new allegations that we got from this particular meeting, and one of the most prominent ones, in my opinion, is this allegation of forgery, which might explain a lot.
So, on this motion, whereas the Village of Dalton Board of Trustees have become aware of numerous improprieties concerning the mayor's use of village funds, village credit cards, employees, and resources. Whereas the village board has received evidence that Mayor Tiffany A. Henyard has misused village funds, village credit cards, has made payments to vendors that have been approved by the board, and has refused to issue the payment of those invoices to those vendors. Whereas she has used the stamp of the village clerk's name on payments without the village clerk's authorization, has issued checks without statutorily mandated countersignatures, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees have received evidence that Mayor Henyard has improperly appointed village employees without the board's advice and consent.
So
All right. So this right here, this information right here is pretty much what's going to send Tiffany Henyard to prison if she's found guilty of forging the clerk's signatures. This is a serious charge. This is a very serious charge. She is going to, she's definitely going to have some issues. She is definitely going to have some issues, and more than likely, she's going to wind up having to, she's going to wind up doing some serious time, and she's going to wind up in the same situation pretty much that Kwame Kilpatrick was in when he got convicted. What's wrong with these people, man? What is wrong with these people? You know, you had for years Black Americans complaining about not having enough political power, not having the say so in their neighborhoods and communities to do what they felt was in the best interest for those communities to move those communities forward. Yet, all around the country, we are seeing countless examples of corruption among Black American politicians. It's really embarrassing, and it's almost to the point it makes you want to say, is it worth it? Because the money is not staying in these communities. These communities are being ran like mafia fiefdoms, and the people are not getting what's in their best interest, and what would make those communities better communities to be in. You even when you look at things like the school boards and stuff in predominantly Black American areas, the school boards are ran by primarily Black Americans, and we've seen the stats. I've talked about stats before. I'm not the only content creator to talk about stats. Black American students, in particular the boys, are performing dead last on all statistics of importance. The boys can't read. The ones, the Black American kids that managed to make it to college, they have to take pre-college courses because they're so far behind. It's a sad state of affairs. What's the answer? What's the answer? I don't know. I'm just one person. What's the answer? What do you all think the answer is? Because I don't know. Let's look at this video from actual justice warrior. Let's look at a little more of this video, and I'll give some additional commentary on it. Let me do this. Go back a little bit. Here we go. Fair use, fair use. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Without going out for bid or requesting any RFPs for various services.
Now, we've talked about all of this on this channel before. She hired a friend of hers who was a convicted sex offender who in the 1990s participated in the gang rape of 2 minors.
Okay, this one right here. This right here, this bit of information right here is what first put Tiffany Henyard on my radar back when I first heard it about the convicted sex offender who she hired as a home inspector, as a it was either I think it was like an ordinance inspector. This right here is concerning in that not that this person was qualified to do the job, but it was the fact that this person had a serious criminal charge in their history, and that this person would be going into other people's homes. Now, I am not against people reforming their lives and people coming back from making horrible choices. I'm not against that at all. But at the same time, there's just some things that I'm not comfortable with and other people are not comfortable with. And these are things that, quite frankly, they have to be respected. And furthermore, when Tiffany Henyard hired this person to do this job, she didn't consult with the board, who I am pretty sure would have raised their concerns about employing this person in this particular position. This is not the first time I've seen things like this happen in the history of Chicago, and in the time that I was working in Chicago and living in the Chicagoland area. I've seen situations where you've had building inspector. There was one case of a 14-year-old building inspector who who was able to get the job through his father's connections to the then mayor, Richard Daley. I remember this because at the time I was applying for different jobs in the city of Chicago and was going through different application processes and being turned down, never having a criminal background. I had somewhat decent education, was a young I was a young man just trying to make my way in the world. And I look up and this 14-year-old kid is getting a job that I applied for and couldn't get because it wasn't what the kid knew. It was because of who that kid was related to. And I've seen countless examples of this in a bunch of different industries like public safety, like city works, different things like that, where people got jobs based on who they had political allegiances with, their last names, relatives, people who they were sleeping with, so forth and so on. So there's a lot of layers of corruption in Chicago and in the Chicagoland area, because it's not just the city of Chicago itself, as we see with Dalton, and I talked about Harvey, uh, but there are a lot of other places. In fact, recently, well, I'm not going to say recently, a few years back, the mayor of Sauk Trail went to prison for stealing a bunch of money. The mayor of, I want to say, Country Club Hills went to prison for stealing a bunch of money. And it wasn't just people in the south suburbs, and it's not just black people. You know, this crime these crimes have very little boundaries. And so to me, it's just indicative of a problem in the culture in that Chicagoland area. And I'll say this, because Democrats run the roost in that area, it's primarily Democrats. You all know how I feel about how Democrats and how they do things. I am not a fan whatsoever. Let's continue.
Did so without the board's approval. We also talked about the fact that she's paying the police an absurd amount of money in overtime in order to keep them under her control. They also mentioned that she fires employees and then hires employees without the approval of the board of trustees. That includes the police chief of the Dalton police, because there was a guy there that opposed her. She got that person out, again without board approval, hired a new person that was her puppet, again without board approval, in order to maintain her power and grip over the police department, that institution that is wholly compromised by Tiffany Henyard. And again, this is all to cost millions upon millions of dollars. And at the same time, while she's spending all this excess money on the police, she's not paying off the police vehicles. It's crazy.
Whereas the mayor refuses to allow the Board of Trustees access to the village financial records, including bank statements, payroll records, credit card statements, or documents concerning the village's budget, tax revenue, and tax levy.
So this is also insane. So while this is all going on and the local news is prying into her expenses, they're figuring out how much money she's spending on the Vegas trips and all of that, Tiffany Henyard actually had a solution for that. And her solution was to just not release financial statements. But remember, the Board of Trustees acts as a legislature.
Let me stop right here for a second. You absolutely cannot do that when you're dealing with other people's money. You have to be forthcoming in every dime you spent, because you best believe if something is out of order, it may not be caught right away. It may not be caught a week later. It may not be caught a month later, but eventually it's going to be caught and you're going to have to answer for it. That's why I have always been very leery and very cautious in dealing with other people's money, because I don't like prison. I don't like jail. I don't like being accused of doing something improper with other people's money. It's, to me, it's just something that makes me sick to the stomach, and it really terrifies me. I want that part of my dealings to be on the level and forthcoming, because money tends to, especially money like that, it makes a trail. And I don't want, there's a saying that shit rolls downhill. And I don't want to be at the bottom of the hill when stuff goes bad. So I am always cautious in dealing with other people's money. But Tiffany Henyard was out here spending other people's money like she was living her best life. Just going to crab boil restaurants and going to bubblegum shrimp and hanging out at casinos, all kinds of stuff, just doing all kinds of unsavory stuff that when you hear about it, you're naturally going to give that person a side eye. Let's continue.
Legislature. They are supposed to appropriate money to certain things, yet now they have no access to how much money is being generated in the village of Dalton, much less how that money is being spent. So a basic, obvious resolution is to get that information in order to do their job as a legislature. But Tiffany Henyard is blocking that off because, again, she believes that she is above the law, and she thinks that she can convince everybody in the village of Dalton that she's the champion of the people and that everything she does is for the people.
Name one ordinance that y'all did that benefited.
All right, let's stop right there. I am pretty much had my fill of Tiffany, of Miss Tiffany Henyard, who the Black Girl Magic politician, one of many around the country, and she, quite frankly, makes my head hurt talking about her. But at the same time, this is information that has to be put out there because people need to know what's going on. Because somebody like Tiffany Henyard, she's going to sing and announce all the praises and accomplishments of whatever it is she's doing, but she's definitely not going to take the accountability of the areas where she fell short or made poor decisions. And the thing about that, as a content creator, I am a makeshift news source, and it's important that myself and people like me put this information out so that people can be informed, know what's going on, and know what to look for in their own local politicians. All right, we're going to end our discussion about Tiffany Henyard here and switch gears and actually talk about Fannie Willis. Fannie Willis is another one who's been in the news a lot lately due to these hearings that they're having to see if Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade are still qualified to seek charges against Donald Trump for alleged election fraud. At issue is whether or not Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade had an inappropriate relationship that resulted in money being used in an inappropriate manner, and whether their whether their relationship would be a conflict in pursuing charges against former President Donald Trump. Let's take let's take a look at Fox News 12 in Atlanta and see what they had to say about what they recently had to say about these hearings against Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade. And I'll give my commentary, and we'll discuss it in the chat. Let me do this, bring this video up. Let's go.
County's DA, Fannie Willis, is pushing back on claims made by the legal team of former President Donald Trump. They accuse Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade of lying about the timeline of their relationship. Mr. Trump's lawyers say Wade's cell phone was tracked near Willis's home back in 2021, nearly a year before the pair say they were officially dating. Willis says the information is incorrect, does not prove that she and Willis were ever at the same place during any of those times listed. Final arguments in this misconduct motion will be heard March 1st.
All right. That's a pretty short clip, but I'll tell you this much. With this situation, this is information that the Trump defense team has put forth as a demonstration that both Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade were not forthcoming about their relationship, and that their relationship actually actually started before their efforts to prosecute Donald Trump on election fraud charges. What's, in my opinion, what they're trying to establish is that these people cannot be trusted, and that they are basically finessing the system and and misusing taxpayer funds to seek this prosecution. And not only that, they're trying to lay the groundwork to show if these people lied about this, what else are they lying about? What else is it that they're doing that's improper? And why is it that for what good reason should they be allowed to continue to seek this prosecution? Now, in full disclosure, I'm not 100% sure how this would impact the case. The way I see it is that on the event that Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade are both removed from the case, it is likely that other special prosecutors will be brought in to pursue the case, which, it pretty much it will reset the timeline in how this case folds out, giving potentially giving former president and presidential candidate Donald Trump time to see what's going to happen with the 2024 election. Now, I'll forthcoming, I'm in support of President Donald Trump becoming the president again. I have no problem saying that. So I don't know if it would be seen that I have a bias, but it is what it is. I'm not here as I'm not here as a objective political commentator. I'm pretty open in that I'm Team Donald Trump, and I don't like Democrats. I generally don't like Democrats, and it's not like I haven't tried. I've just seen a lot out of them that I'm not happy with, and I've been rocking with Donald Trump since 2016. When I voted for him the first time, even though I wasn't real sure that that he was taking being the president serious. I had my doubts, but from what I seen out of him, I'm good with what I saw. You know, for what it's worth, I'm good with what I saw. That being said, all that being stated, they're going after Donald Trump with a lot of lawfare, and we've talked about this term lawfare before. This is basically weaponizing law and policy against your opponent in order to neutralize them. You, it's a form of warfare, but you're not. The law and policy is your weapon. So, as I mentioned before, we've talked about this before. So, let's see if we can find some more news about Fani Willis because she's got a lot going on right now. Let's look at this feed from the Times Now. Shout out to the Times Now. This is a news outlet that's covering the Fani Willis hearings. Let's pull this up. Let's see what they're talking about so far. Let's do this. Okay. Really. All right. Let's get this going.
All of the
Fair
information
use. Fair use.
that he had said. That's my final question.
Okay. In which case, without doing that extra assuming link that he based his answers on those communications, it has no relevance.
Well, it does in the sense that it shows what knowledge he may have had when he, the attorney, is filing interrogatory responses. That's what it shows.
Okay. I'm still not seeing the relevance of his knowledge as the attorney filing the responses, unless you're linking this back to Mr. Wade.
It gets back, Your Honor, to whether or not, if you're an attorney and you're filing an interrogatory response, which you have reason to believe, or specific information to know that certain responses are not accurate, then you shouldn't be filing. And now, so that's where I was going with that. So if he's got a body of knowledge over here that's built up from his communications with Mr. Wade that everyone so dearly doesn't want everyone to know about, in spite of the allegations made against Ms. Merchant, now.
Okay. So what if the question was, did you, when you signed your name to the interrogatories, did you commit any knowing fraudulent statement and submitting those to the court at the time? Would there be a problem with that statement or that question?
Well, I mean, I think that is a conclusion that others could draw, like the court. I just want to know that he had all that information at the time that he, as the attorney, filed the interrogatories. That's it.
We would object. This does fall under attorney-client, and he is making presumptions about when information may have or not have been disseminated to Mr. Bradley in his capacity as attorney. He didn't have to know about anything at the time of, in the middle of, at the end of, or he may never have had that information. There's too much presumption associated with it. The whole matter is covered under privilege.
One comment on that, Your Honor.
All right, let's stop right here for a second. This right here, what we're seeing is the presumption or the allegation that the attorney of Nathan Wade knew about the relationship that Nathan Wade had with Fani Willis prior to the trial, and that there were certain discussions that was had between the attorney and Nathan Wade should be able to be presented to the court. Conversely, the the former attorney of Nathan Wade, and the defense is they're saying that those conversations were subject to attorney-client privilege and therefore are not admissible in this court. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out, and it, quite frankly, it will set legal precedents, because if it is found out that this attorney knew about this relationship prior to the charging of Donald Trump by Fulton County, which was led by Fannie Willis, this shows that it's another piece of proof that shows that Nathan Wade and Fannie Willis lied. Let's continue.
Let's say hypothetically that he speaking with Mr. Wade, was aware that the intimate or personal relationship, romantic relationship, existed prior to November the 1st, 2021, and started in 2019 or 2020. If he's armed with that information that he's obtained from Mr. Wade, but Mr. Wade would want to insist on responding to interrogatories which were contrary to the information that Mr. Bradley would have, then I'm asking him whether he took steps as an attorney to say, I cannot be a part of that or countenance that, therefore I'm withdrawing from the case.
Sure. I still see that as covering their communications. So I'll sustain that objection.
All right. Well, thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
Mr. Kucherov, are you still with us? Anyone on behalf of Mr. Floyd still joining us? All right, moving on. Mr. Cromwell.
Two brief questions, Your Honor. I think everybody's exhausted with this line of question, right? We'll go, Mr. Bradley. When did you withdraw from Mr. Wade's divorce case?
I don't have it in front of me. I don't have the file.
Was it sometime in 2023?
No, it would have probably been, 2023. See, I left in 2022. It could have been anywhere between July of 20.
All right, let's stop right here. This guy is trying to figure out how to best tell his lie, because he's going to lie. He's going to lie on the stand. He's trying to give himself cover for that lie and make it seem like he might have forgotten some details or he was fuzzy on the details. What he's trying to do, he's trying to figure out how to lodge the lie that he's about to tell into his testimony and get away with it. Let's continue.
That doesn't mean the marriage ends, does it?
I guess you have to ask the judge that's handling the case.
Well, it doesn't end until there's actually a divorce decree signed by a judge. Would you agree?
I would agree.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Cross, were you taking...
All right, let's stop right there. This is important because a few days earlier, when Nathan Wade was on the stand and he was giving his testimony, he testified that the reason he was divorcing his wife was that back in 2015, he said that she had an affair and that the marriage was over in 2015, which, okay, emotionally and in his mind, that could very well be true. But from the legal standard, that marriage was not over until the end of the proceedings in court. where it becomes an official record. So this is going to be important because this is going to it basically the prosecution is making the case. Donald Trump's side is making the case that they're building a building, a structure, or painting a picture that that says that Nathan Wade and Fannie Willis are lying and are liars and can't be trusted. They aren't credible. Let's continue. All right, let's stop right here. It's looking as if they're taking some kind of break. I don't know how long that's going to be. I didn't catch that part, so we'll just continue to talk from here. I'll do my babble. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Extended Clips is in the house. Good morning, Extended Clips. How you doing, bro? How was your weekend? Hope you had a great weekend. I had a pretty good weekend, man. I can't complain. We're talking about our girl, Fannie Willis. I talked about our other girl earlier, Tiffany Henyard. There is, as I mentioned before, there is so much black girl shenanigans going on in politics today. You can, it's almost like you could take a dart, you can put on a blindfold, take a dart, and just throw it at a dartboard and pick out a topic to talk about. They've been out here wilding. So let me close this window right here. Because like I said before, I don't know when these people are gonna come back and stuff. So we'll keep that closed until until there's another until the action resumes. So yeah, there's a lot been going on. And we're gonna talk about a little bit of it. Extended Clip says, today is my birthday, so blessed to be in the land of the living. Yes, sir. Happy birthday. Everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching, let's wish the brother Extended Clips a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thank the Creator that you are here and you have blessed us with another year of your presence. I hope everything that you want and need is set before you by the Creator and that life continues to treat you well. That is my birthday wish for you. Yeah, yeah. So we got a lot of that. We got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Latoya Cantrell. I guess I think that I saw a story that saying that the FBI might be looking into some of her improper dealings. You know, she was another one of these city girl mayors out there in New Orleans. She had herself a little side piece, and they were, you know, creeping in and out of hotels, hanging out, possibly on the taxpayer's dime, which is another problem. And then recently there was in a story in the news where there was a story in the news. Sorry about that. Hope everything is still recording. Where a judge shot her boyfriend. Let's see if we can find that. Let's see if we could find that. Take a look at that. I'm gonna switch lanes because, like I said, I don't know how long the jury on the Fannie Willis case is taking their break. So while they're doing that, we'll take a look at this story about this judge who shot her boyfriend. I tell you, these people out here are wild. They're out here wild, man. You know, these are, that's some more black girl magic. You know, let's take a look at that. See what we got. Let me pull the screen up.
Magisterial District Judge Sonia McKnight shot her ex-boyfriend in the head while he slept. He's been left blind in at least one eye, according to authorities. McKnight is accused of attempting...
Fair use, fair use. She shot him in the head while he was asleep, and he survived. Wow. Man, man, I'm telling you, these people out here, they're wild. This is a judge. This is a judge. Let's continue.
Attempted murder and aggravated assault. She was unable to post $300,000 bail, according to court records. Police say McKnight's ex-boyfriend had recently broken up with her and wanted her to move out of his Susquehanna Township home. Around 1 a.m. Saturday, police say McKnight's ex-boyfriend awoke with massive head pain and was unable to see, while she...
No kidding. I feel bad for him, and it's not to laugh at him per se, but to kind of laugh at just in general. He woke up with massive head pain and couldn't see. That's because he got shot. Wow, that's crazy. Let's continue.
Allegedly asked him, what did he do to himself? The ex-boyfriend was adamant he did not shoot himself. Police say while calling 911, McKnight could not explain what happened and that she was sleeping and heard him screaming. But investigators came to the conclusion she pulled the trigger.
The location of the wound being one of the big factors here, a gunshot wound to the head pretty clearly gives you a...
All right, let's stop right here. I've seen gunshot wounds to the head. I've seen my fair share of them. I did 29 years in law enforcement, and most of that time was an investigator. I've seen both suicides and I've seen people who were shot by other people, and you see it one or two times. Really, you see it one time, you know the difference. It's not hard to tell at all. I don't want to go into it on this live stream. It's pretty gory, but it's also pretty specific. You know what you're looking at when you see it. So, yeah, it didn't take much for these investigators to figure out that he was shot by somebody other than himself. Let's continue.
Indication of someone's intent. So the charge is appropriate, we believe.
Police said a gun registered by McKnight was used in the shooting and that a license plate reader and Ring doorbell footage contradicted part of McKnight's account of the evening, leading investigators to say her interview was deceptive. Additionally, an investigating officer wrote in charging documents that McKnight tested positive for gunshot residue on her hand.
You mean to tell me, hey, let's stop here for a minute. You mean to tell me this judge didn't know anything about GSR? Come on. Come on. You really have to question the knowledge and intelligence of these people who get in these positions of power and who get these titles to be the authorities to adjudicate and make certain decisions. You mean to tell me she didn't know to wash and to wash her arms and change clothes and stuff like that? Yeah, yeah. She going to jail. She going to jail. She going to prison for a long time. I hope they give her some Buck Rogers sentence. Let's continue.
McKnight was already suspended for unrelated reasons prior to this. A state judicial conduct board had alleged a number of counts of misconduct by McKnight that led to her suspension without pay. Tom Lehman, WGAL News 8.
So this woman, this judge, has a history of bad, inappropriate behavior. And it took her trying to kill her ex-boyfriend to put her on the public's radar. This is something else, man. This is this is something else. You know, in this day and age of exposing people and everybody wanting to be a truth teller, it's interesting of just how much of this bad behavior of people with titles is being hidden until it's too far gone. You know, and I don't know if this judge did this judge who was on suspension from what we gather in the story. It's not. I don't know if she did anything prior that would cause her to go to jail, but this person's behavior, this person's behavior leading up to this should have been a red flag to law enforcement, should have been a red flag to uh, different political and government entities, so forth, so on. They had on suspension, so they did have an idea, but it's just amazing that this this woman allowed her behavior to get that far to where she would knowingly try to kill someone because they wanted to break up. And I'm sure he wanted to break up with her because of her behavior, because I'm pretty sure her behavior was likely erratic and 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 highly dangerous. If this person, if this woman could try to shoot this guy in his sleep, I'm pretty sure there were other signs that he saw leading up to this that made him say, "Hey, I need to break up with her." I wish he would have had the foresight to get an order of protection from her when he broke up with her. And I don't know if he let her in the house. The news story wasn't clear. So I don't know if he let her in the house or she let herself in. She got in there some kind of way, either through a key or broke in there. But I really wish this guy would have gotten an order of protection. And I'm going to say something to you guys out there in the audience. Listen, if you are in a situation to where you have an erratic and volatile woman in your life and you are trying to cut ties and different things like that, you need to get an order of protection. Don't get caught up in that thinking that, well, I'm a man, I can handle myself. No, put the police in these women's lives. Put the police in their lives. If you are working with a woman who is confrontational and violates workplace policy or violates the law, different stuff like that, get them fired, get them out of there, get an order of protection. If the employer does not deal with this woman in an appropriate fashion, then you need to go to the media. You need to go to government agents. You need to get as many eyes on that woman and her bad behavior as you can. Y'all know I got the hashtag get her fired. Stop playing with these women. Stop not taking their propensity for violence, either directly or by proxy. Stop not taking that stuff serious, because you're going to wind up paying with your livelihood, your freedom, and possibly your life. You know, too many women get away with too much inappropriate and criminal behavior, and it's got to stop. They got to be held accountable. You guys be wanting to hold them accountable for uh, romantic and domestic nonviolent issues, but then turn right around and excuse their violence. No, they got to go to jail. They got to go to jail. Send them to jail. Send them to prison. When they do something, if they put hands on you, or if you think they're going to put hands on you, record them. Record them and their violence, because guess what? If you're the violent one, they're going to record you. They're going to tell somebody. So if something happens to them, the first person the police are going to come looking for is you. Put it back on them. Put that mess back on them. Do not take for granted that these women cannot do things to hurt you. Nobody should have to risk being a recipient, being a victim of violence at the hands of anyone. You know, send them to jail, put them people in their lives. Extended clip says, you're right. Nepotism and inadequacy in their respective roles are also being exposed. Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Extended clip says, not sure if you covered the story about the lady officer caught shoplifting while in uniform. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I want to say either Friday or Saturday. Um, you know what? Let's go. Let's take a look at that story, man. Let's see if I can find that story. She actually had gotten fired by the same department before, and they had to rehire her for some reason. Let's see if we could find that story. I think I got it. Wait a minute. I want to say this is out like Cleveland or something. Hold on. You know, I cannot. It's this is what makes me mad about YouTube. They want to talk about stories from last year, or they immediately go to police brutality. And I'm gonna tell you, you can't tell me that the algorithm isn't influenced by outside entities that they that are controlled by the Democrats, because they need a certain narrative in this 2024 election to get Joe Biden reelected, and they want to bring back the summer of love antics, and they want to remind people them police is corrupt and we's got to make sure Joe Biden deals with it. That stuff. Which there's a video I need to do about this study that this Harvard professor did that showed that Black Americans are shot the least by police. Yeah. Let me see. This was I got something from the New York Post. Let's take a look at this. See if I could pull this up. See if I can pull this up. Oh, and don't think for a minute that a lot of the black girl magic stories aren't being scrubbed from the internet. There's an active effort to hide Black American female criminality. I'm telling y'all now. I see it. Of the content creators that I've talked to, see the same thing. And even people outside of content creation, they're saying the same thing. We're all seeing the same thing where names and stories are being scrubbed from the internet in an effort to quote unquote improve the image of Black American women instead of putting the news out there of crimes that they commit. Because the news of crimes anybody else commit are out there. Why should the internet be scrubbed of their inappropriate behavior? I've got an issue with that. You know, I've got a real issue with that because if I committed a crime, if I went out there and committed a crime, you best believe they are going to have my photo out there. They're gonna have pictures of me from when I was in the 5th grade. They're gonna have my employee picture on there looking like a mugshot, all kinds of stuff. If I'm charged, they're gonna have my mugshot up there, all kinds of stuff, and they're gonna run that story into the ground. Why should it be different if I
Columbus
was
police
like
officer accused of stealing a pair of shoes is now without a job. Robin Connor was charged with misdemeanor shoplifting Wednesday. She's taking a pair of shoes, or rather she's accused of taking a pair of shoes from Dick's Sporting Goods without paying for them. Police Chief Joseph Daughtry says Connor was wearing her uniform and was on duty when she was taken into custody. The Columbus City Council met this morning in a special called meeting. In executive session, the council discussed the job performance of a patrol officer.
Let's stop right here. Fair use, fair use. This is interesting because they charged her with a misdemeanor. How? She was in uniform committing a crime. She was committing a crime under the color of law. How was that a misdemeanor? They charged her with a charge that they would charge a civilian. She is not a civilian. She is an agent of the city who was on duty. That should have been a felony. I know in Illinois, you do a crime like that, they're going to charge you with a felony. That's see, this is that social parachute that I've talked about before. This is exactly what that is. Let's continue. I'm pissed. Let's continue. Fair use, fair use.
A press release from the city did not specifically identify Connor. However, the release did say it was related to an incident at Dick's Sporting.
All right, let's stop right here. A press release did not specifically identify Officer Robin Connor. Had that been a man, they would have identified it. They'd have said his name, they'd have gave his birth certificate, they'd have gave his social security. They would have put out whatever information they had, they would have put it out there for the public. See, this is a problem. This is a big problem. Let's continue. Let's finish this story out. Fair use, fair use.
Goods Wednesday. Connor was given the opportunity to attend the meeting but did not. The officer was terminated effective immediately. Columbus police officer accused of stealing a pair of shoes is now without a job.
Stop this right there. All right. So, yeah. They're always trying to make that social parachute, gentlemen. I'm telling you, just pay attention. Just pay attention. Watch how they treat bad female behavior, especially in this day and age, bad black female behavior. Has she been a Karen? It's likely they would have put out more information and they definitely would have ran that story. But I'm telling y'all what's going on. They're actively trying to scrub these stories from the news. They're under the guise of improving the image of Black American women, especially with this election, because they're doing whatever they got to do to get votes to win this presidential election. It's all tied up. You don't have to believe me. Just look at the evidence yourself. Extended clip says these people thought they were invincible and infallible. He's talking about the politicians and Robin Connor. That's another one. The algorithm is inflammatory and one-sided. Definitely, man. Definitely. Extended clips put the link in the chat. If you want to read the story yourself or do more research, the link is in the chat that is in the YouTube chat for this story about former police officer Robin Connor. He says it's out of Mississippi. And definitely I agree, extended clips. It is definitely a double standard. And it's blatant. And thanks to grassroots media, thanks to content creators like myself, we're able to see the problem for ourselves. We're able to see these stories and discuss them because mainstream media, these mainstream talk shows and stuff, they don't want to talk about this. They want to talk about men leaving the home and men are doing this, patriarchy bad. They want to talk about all of this stuff. They don't want to talk about the fact that women are people capable of both good and evil and abusing power or being benevolent and doing right by the people. You can't talk about one without talking about the other at some point. I'm the type of person, I have no problem saying that it's a lot of shitty men out here. So it's a lot of there are a lot of lousy men out in society. But I'll also say that there are a lot of good men out in society. I've got no problem saying that there are some men who take advantage of the system. But on the other side, I'm going to say that more often than not, men are being taken advantage of by the system because it's true. What's up, Blexit? How you doing there, brother? Blexit, the community. Welcome to the chat. He says the South suburbs need conservative reform, but until then, nothing is going to change, and she isn't going to do anything out of the ordinary either. Just look at Maywood, Broadview, Bellwood. Shout out to Blexit, the community. Blexit, the community. I know about Maywood, Broadview, and Bellwood. I actually used to live out in Bellwood years ago, and I am very I had a great relationship with the police department there and the city government at the time I was there. I still have people that were once a part of the infrastructure there that I occasionally talk to. Good people, man, but you had some some bad stuff going on there. When I was working, there was one police sergeant that was out there that he for years there were whispers that he was doing some corrupt police brutality type stuff to some of the citizens in Bellwood. With that, you kind of got to take it by case basis because everybody that I heard it from was involved in less than stellar activity, quite frankly. But this same police sergeant that I'm referring to, he got picked up, he got arrested and eventually convicted on child pornography charges, which I'm not surprised of. I'm not surprised of that because he exhibited some things that I seen before. I was like, okay, this, you know, we talk about female intuition, woman's intuition all the time. We as men have intuition too, and when there are some things that other men may come around that might not rub us the right way, and we might not be able to put a finger on it, but we know that there's something there. And I worked with that guy before he got arrested and convicted, and he would do some things that would rub me the wrong way, you know, regarding the brutality stuff, which I'm on the fence again with. Um, it's definitely possible it happened, but if you dealing with people that's resistant, anything you do to put them in custody, they call it brutality. So that's but child pornography is clear. Child pornography is cut and dry as far as I'm concerned. If you are on team short eyes, there's no there's no gray area. You know, there's not. Police brutality arguably has a gray area where, hey, sometimes you got to knock the wind out of somebody to put cuffs on them. Hey, that's not police brutality. That's overcoming resistance to effect an arrest. I tell you this much: I'm not going to be sitting there tussling and begging. If I got to knock the wind out of you, that's what's going to happen. If I got to put you in cuffs, because guess what? Ultimately, that's going to save both of our lives. That being said, again, that's different than you talking. I probably shouldn't say the prime. The kitty stuff. I ain't gonna ever get monetized. I ain't gonna ever get monetized. But you like looking at kids in a perverted way. That's cut and dry. That's not. There's no gray area as far as I'm concerned, and as far as most people who try to be upright and try to live a right and decent life. There is no cut and dry. There is no gray area. Excuse me. There's no gray area for that. If it looks like that, it's a good chance that that's what it is. You know, and like I said, that guy, he had some stuff about him that didn't sit quite right. He would say little stuff, and you look at him like, "Hey, man, no, that don't sound right." You know, so it is what it is. Blexit says, "No, we don't need to know this. This only happened because Tia Ewing is messy and unprofessional." I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that's referring to. I don't even know who Tia Ewing is. Um, but yeah, with that guy, no, you need to know about, if you got a police officer doing some some being a creep, you need to know about it. I disagree. If that's what you're talking about, if that's not what you're talking about, I'm not sure what you're referring to. But if you got a police officer out there being a creeper, then the public needs to know. And like I said, they sat him down for some years for that, and good. I'm glad they caught him. You know, um, but yeah, man. You know, going forward, hopefully, with all of this exposure of bad politicians, in particular with Black Americans, going forward, hopefully, the people that come behind them, should they be Black Americans, hopefully they learn the lessons of what could happen when you run afoul of the people and when you uh, make poor decisions with other people's money and you abuse your power. Hopefully, they learn that that's not the way to go and that they do better by the people. You know, and I mean that's really for any American politician, because you work for the people. I don't care what your race or ethnicity is. At the end of the day, just like as a police officer, you work for the public. As a politician, you work for the public. You work for the people. It is not your. This is not the Wild Wild West or fiefdom that you can do whatever it is you want to do. You know, when my dogs came in here being nosy, but hold on, sit. You know, it's important that people, that elected officials and people employed by the people do right by the people. I am against of abuses of power of all type. Now, you use your power efficiently and effectively to accomplish the mission and to take care of your constituents. And if that is by, harsh sentences, in court, I've got no problem with it. All these little carjackers, give them Buck Rogers sentences. Send them to prison for a long time. All these street shooters, send them to prison for a long time. If you're a politician and you do something corrupt, you need to go to jail for a long time. You need to sit in prison for a long time. Nobody is above that. Let me see what Blexit says. Blexit says, "Oh no, that's he already he already sent that one." But yeah, we got to do right by the people, and I'm not saying uh you got to coddle the public, no, but you do the job that you're hired to do, and you respect the people's money, and if the people want to vote for something that doesn't make sense, like the border issue, you got to tell them no. Y'all told, you know what? And that's the funny thing about Democrats. Democrats, I remember when Barack Obama was running for president and the discussion of reparations came up. What did Barack tell you? You're not getting reparations. He told black Americans, you're not getting reparations. He sure did. He said it out his mouth, I think more than once. I remember, I know for sure he was on a video and he says, you're not getting reparations. Okay? Because he felt it wasn't a good idea. He knew politically it wasn't feasible. He knew politically during that time, that's not what, you know, that's not what was it's not something that he could have did for whatever reason, whatever his reasons were. I can't read the man's mind. I just know what he said. Okay. Why didn't the Democrats say the same thing about this border stuff? Y'all see what I'm saying? They should have said, you know, we need to we need to reinforce our borders. We need to enforce our immigration policy. No, they didn't say that. You know, they couldn't do reparations, but they can let immigrants, they can let illegal migrants come through the border whenever they got ready and give them all kinds of money and stuff. And you know, every day they tell you and they show you what they really think of you, black Americans. Every day. But y'all gonna go run out and vote for him because Orange Man bad. Orange Man bad. Blessed the community that says, and George Bush Sr. didn't do any better of a job either. Yeah, because he was owned by the military industrial complex. He was Dick Cheney's puppet. You know, and I'm not saying that Republicans are going to do better because guess what? It's a lot of Republicans in a lot of shenanigans and fuckery. You know, and that's the thing. You we have to hold people regardless. We have to hold people responsible regardless of their political party, their racial or ethnic designation, their economic class, so forth and so on. Nobody is above reproach. Nobody is above discipline for bad behavior. You know, extended clip says the border is a huge problem. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hey, hold on, guys. Hey, listen. You gotta go. Yeah, yeah. That border is a huge problem. And guess what? The Democrats told the U.S. citizens what they intended on doing. Joe Biden said what he intended on doing before he got elected. And y'all thought it was a good idea. Not necessarily the people in the chat, not necessarily the people on the channel, but the American, uh, the American public that voted for Joe Biden didn't think it was an issue until now. It's an issue. You got what you voted for. Trump told you back in 2015, 2016, when he was running. Barack Obama said it, the deporter in chief. He said it during his elections. He knew it was a problem. Joe Biden comes along and says it's a good idea to let anybody through the border, and y'all said, okay, you got what you deserve. Oh, well, you got what you deserve. Republicans told you it was a problem. Guess what? They were right. It is a problem. Now, I got my issues with the Republicans because they don't talk about that northern border. which that border's a problem too. But they told you that southwest border was a problem, and it is. They've been saying it a long time. The same people that wanted to open borders got locks on the doors of their houses. Come on, man. Come on. Extended Clip says, what Dennis Green said, we knew what they were, and we let them off the hook. Facts. Facts. Yep. Yep. And y'all know I have my views about the 2020 election. You know, in my last ditch effort to try to get, you know, try to get monetized, try to grow this channel. I can't really talk about it, but I do think the Chicago tactic is shout out to Blexit. Blexit know what I'm talking about. The Chicago Democratic practice of how they do elections. I think I think it went nationwide. I think a lot of people who weren't here with us in 2020 were able to vote it. You know, a lot of ghosts voted, in my opinion. And I'm gonna tell you something. The reason they want those borders open is to justify all of those votes that were collected, even though it did match up with the voters' rolls. Yeah, it's a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory, I know, but knowing how things are done from past practice, yeah, you know, yeah, that them, yeah, yeah. You know, I've got an issue with. Listen, if you are not in the military, I don't think you should have an absentee ballot. If you are not in the military, actively on deployment, serving our nation's interests, I personally don't think you should have an absentee ballot. You definitely shouldn't be able to vote without an ID. Because guess what? On the military post, everybody got ID. Everybody. Everybody got ID. No ID, no vote. And I think that for everybody that votes, you should have ID, and your ID should be scanned to your vote. Your ID should be scanned to your vote. That's a Mr. Royce original right there. The only way you can vote is you have an ID, you scan it into a machine, and you get a receipt that you voted with a picture of your ID. And they can match an ID with the vote. Because I think a lot of imaginary people and ghosts have been voting in elections. I know it's true in Chicago. And there's a strong possibility that's what happened nationwide. Extended Clip says it was RIGGED. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was Jimmy rigged. They got Jimmyed. Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, other than that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut down this live stream. Depending on how my day goes, I'll come back. Last Friday, I was supposed to come back on the live stream, I had an electrical issue I had to take care of, and so it became a lot more involved than I initially thought. I got it fixed, but I had to do some work, and it had to have the electrician give me the thumbs up. So I had my work cut out for me, and time got away from me. And then I try to save the weekends for family because that's important. Like I said, I'm not a conservative, but I do have some value. I have traditional values. I'm not a conservative, but I am a traditionalist in a lot of things. Um, you know, that's being forthcoming. I am a constitutionalist. If it don't match up with the Constitution, then politically we shouldn't do it. And you know, I vote issues, not party or policy. That being said, I'm riding with the Republicans for these elections because I think the Democrats have gotten too far out of control and their power needs to be checked. And that's the only way to do it because the Democrats coming behind them are simply doing the same things that the Democrats already in office are doing. And they're not working, in my opinion, in the best interest of the people. So we got to change that. That being said, to my Republicans out there, get your shit together. Stand on business. Don't be afraid to talk tough to these Democrats. They talk tough to you. Talk tough to them back. Let you slap your nuts on the table. Like I said, we not doing any more of these Tim Scott and Ben Carson Republicans. We need more Nicholas Irvin type Republicans. We need more Dan Crenshaw Republicans. We need Republicans that look like they mean business, that talk like they mean business, that ain't afraid of the competition, that ain't afraid of the other side. If you're going to do this, then do this. Stop playing with these people. We know most of y'all ain't pastors. Stop talking like a Lutheran pastor. If you a truck driver, you talk like a truck driver. You a construction worker, you talk like a construction worker. You a cop, you a fireman, you talk like a cop and a fireman. Talk like real people. I'm not saying pastors ain't real people, but hey, listen, all that man, all that nice guy stuff. No, it's time out for that. The nation's health is at stake. We need serious people that talk serious and that take serious actions. Y'all going after Ilhan Omar, good. Going after Cori Bush, good. And let him know we're not playing with you. Be tough. Don't be nasty nice. Just be nasty. Trump showed y'all the way. Take notes. This is Mr. Royce J of Royce Media. Like, share, and subscribe. Get in the comment section. If you want me to talk about something, if we friends on Facebook, hit me in the DM or hit my email. I'm out of here. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.